Hey everyone, welcome back to Hackers and Hooks. I am Nick Gibson, cybersecurity professional and amateur fisherman. I have with me Isaac Reed.
Hi, my name's Isaac Reed, the COO of Gipson Cyber, former sysad and hands-on hardware guy.
All right, this week we're going to talk about a really cool club that's been around since before hacking was even cool or in the news at all. The Chaos Computer Club. It's a German-based club, and we're going to discuss how they are prevalent in both back in early cybersecurity days as well as today, and making sure that cybersecurity is both safe and secure for everyone. They are essentially a white hat hacking group. We'll explain a little more about what that means in a little bit. And then on the other side of the house, we're going to talk about my fishing story today that I found something that did not think would be in the waters of Arkansas when I was fishing in a lake up there. It's a big striped bass normally found in salt water. So we'll talk about that sort of fish and that fishing story and how that kind of ties in with all our cybersecurity topic of today. So, from playful digital pranks to phishing tales gone sideways, this episode dives into the unpredictability of both hacking and angling and remind us why ethics matter in every arena. All right, so let's jump right into it. The Chaos Computer Club was founded on September 12th, 1981 in West Berlin, Germany. It was founded by a number of different people that were studying cybersecurity. Actually, they were really studying computer science back in those days because cybersecurity wasn't even a term that was coined. And it was really more like information security or computer security back then. They did have things like passwords. Passwords were around and they did access them, but they were few and far between and weren't very used. And the majority of the attacks that happened during these days in 1980, early 1980s happened over the phone on the phone system. The internet wasn't even a thing yet. We're still running on the ARPANET. And so the Computer Chaos Club got into hacking by starting to hack the phone systems. All right. Oh, one of their most famous early attacks was against the German post office. They stole, was it 135,000 Deutschmarks?
Yep.
However much dollars that is in 1984. I don't. That would probably be I would say at least double, if not triple, that value today. And what they did it by simply calling up the phone system within Germany and using social engineering tactics to get in. They immediately, with the next day, gave back the money because they did it just to prove a point, which is interesting.
That is interesting. They persist today. I mean, they started in the 80s and they're still active. I mean, they've done all sorts of things over the last, 30 years. They proved you can spoof Apple's Touch ID system with like high-res photos. They stole the fingerprints off of one of the German interior ministers using a glass. I mean, some real like Mission
Nice.
Impossible. I'm going to steal this guy's fingerprints off of a drinking glass. So like they've played a big role in a lot of the biometric side of the house where this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
And RFID, that's another thing I read a lot about, that they've messed with a lot of different RFID, and like especially the early days of RFID before it was secure at all, and now everything
Yeah.
has it.
It's interesting because I feel like their work in publishing stories about biometrics has really even taken to heart with the government. Like in the DoD, when I was working for and with the DoD, I rarely ever saw a fingerprint scanner.
Me either. We didn't use them ever.
You don't. It's just not a thing. It's more of a science fiction security solution than anything else. People think, oh well, it's your fingerprint. You can't trace your fingerprint. Well, your fingerprint has to be digitized in some form at some point in the process. So they just have to attack that digital process to replicate the same digits that your fingerprint gives off, and then they let you in.
Yeah, and they did a really
Simple.
good job of pointing out how the government does not secure personal information,
No.
including the biometrics.
Yes, and that's the thing too is like so I have my kids like to take snacks in the middle of the night, and I have I put a biometric like lock, like a cheap one from Amazon on my pantry door, and it like, I can unlock it remotely and things like that. Well, that can be, I mean, I've been wanting to mess around with it and see if I could break into it because it seems like a very thing that I can manipulate my thumb in a certain way or manipulate another finger in a certain way to be able to access it, even though it's just my thumbprint. That sort of stuff happens all the time, and you have people that don't realize that are putting this on like their front door of their house.
The old gym I used to go to, we used a thumbprint scanner.
Yeah. People it's still a thing. I think that there's honestly, to be honest, I think that it's more of a sanitary issue that people see than an actual security issue. Everyone's gotta touch that thing.
I don't know. I mean, I'm hyper paranoid about, just giving people my fingerprints for whatever, right? How many spy movies have you seen someone steal somebody's fingerprints to break into a highly secure area?
Well, how many spy movies have you seen where I can just burn my fingerprints off?
That is a good point. Could do that. The ultimate security.
Yeah. Just walking around, no fingerprints.
Didn't they do that in Men in Black? Yeah, he burned his fingerprints off in Men in
Yeah, they
Black.
did.
Yeah.
Yep. See, that's what I'm saying. You just it's who needs biometrics when now, wouldn't that also be a specific biometric key in itself? Having no ridges?
Yeah. I mean, it would,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's a very, very convoluted, deep question you could get into. What's his identifier? He has no fingerprints.
Yeah, I mean, what if we get to that point in society where it's become I mean, what was it? Finland, Holland, a Nordic country just had like 3,000 people volunteer to get chipped and have all of their medical and banking information like in a chip in their hand or something, in an arm or something like
I
that.
didn't really even want to do that to my dog, but I did it anyways. And people are doing it to themselves.
No, and I'm like, I joke about doing it with my kids, but like I would never actually do that. That's a terrible idea for so many different ways beyond security.
Well, if you do it and you come to my house, I'm gonna take a flipper. I'm gonna reset your chip
Yep.
and make you
See,
go off
that's
every
what will
time you walk
happen.
through a door at Walmart.
That's that's what will happen, and then it'll get corrupted, and then they gotta dig that thing out of you and give you a new one. It's a terrible solution. That sounds like it's like flying cars. It sounds great on paper, but when you think about it in reality, people can't even drive on roads, and now we're gonna give them airplanes. So, it's a terrible decision.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, back to the Computer Club. They are what we consider, like we mentioned, they are considered a white hat hacking club, meaning that they hack for the good of cybersecurity to make us better in cyber. They want to be the ones that find the vulnerabilities to alert people of them so that nefarious actors don't find them first. Now, that said, they haven't always been, and every member of their club hasn't always been always a white hat. I would almost would consider the Chaos Computer Club, if you look at their entire history, as a gray hat hacking club. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the different hat colors of cybersecurity, let me give you a quick rundown. White hat means you are a good hacker. You are what we call ethical hacker, is a person that's their job to find vulnerabilities before the actual attacker does. Okay. That's a white hat. A black hat is the attacker. They're someone that is there for monetary or personal gain, and they are there to do nefarious activities on the network. That could be destroying the network, destroying information, downloading and removing information, ransoming it off, whatever it is. It's a black hat situation if they are going after, if they're doing something for their own good or for their own cause. There's a bunch of different types of black hats, and we'll get into that maybe another time, but that's what we're talking about here. Mix them together, you get a gray hat, right? Between white and black is a gray hat. Now, a gray hat is what I would consider the Computer Chaos or Chaos Computer Club. Most of the time, they are white hat. They publish great, what we talked about. They publish really great works that have changed the paradigm of what we thought about security, how we thought about things being really secure, how it showed them not to be. And that is something that is invaluable forever. I mean, it's something that's a lesson that can be learned for all of eternity that biometrics are not as secure as people think. The way that they're doing them right now are not as secure as the way people think they are. But on the other hand, you have some people like a couple of their members, and and one of them we actually spoke about during our first episode. It was the hacker of our first episode, when the Cuckoo's Egg was from the Chaos Computer Club. Basically, he was running a security company that was failing, and he was trying to hack into companies so that he could go and save them.
Yeah, the firefighter is always the
Typical,
arsonist, right? It's the same
yeah,
same concept.
typical situation that's happened. That happened just recently too. Someone in like Chicago or St. Louis tried to like openly in like the middle of the day download malware onto like some nurse's workstation in the middle of a hospital, and it was the CEO of a cybersecurity company that was trying to get the contract.
But not us. We don't
Not
do that.
us, not me. Nope, that's a one-way ticket to the federal penitentiary. No, thank you. So, anyways, the hacker that was in the black hat hacker that was operating in the Triple C during 1987 attack on the ARPANET and the U.S. government was from originally a white hat hacker from the Triple C. There's been a couple other instances of black hats coming out of the Triple C, and that's really like what you're just going to find with hacking groups. Sometimes people go bad, and you can find that really in any group.
I mean, look at
I
the
mean,
Jedi.
I
It's a
talk
tale
all the
as old
time.
as time.
I talk all the time. I'm like the amount of information that I know. I could run a fishing campaign that would make me so much money. I'd be on a yacht by the end of next year. Like, wouldn't even be wouldn't be a thing. But I'd also risk going to jail forever. So I'm not willing to do that.
I mean, how big is the yacht?
And I have ethics and morals. I mean, yeah, I mean, how big is the yacht? That's what I say. Like, how long can I outrun the police with this money? But yeah, I mean, so you have everything that happens with that. But the Chaos Computer Club, by and large, is a really great organization that has been around since the dawn of computer hacking, and they have a lot of really cool history. That if you haven't looked into them before, you should. There's a lot of really great articles and great white papers that they've put out about a bunch of different things that they've investigated and done campaigns against on.
Yeah.
So
So
when we're talking about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So one thing that I've read about them is they do an annual, what do they call it, the Chaos Communication Congress, where they have like an annual get together and like a powwow and do all of their
Nice.
whatever. I mean, right?
Like
It's
a
basically a
annual
convention that
conference?
an annual
Yeah.
conference of white hat. So here's another question I have. So with them being a white hat group, so is everything they do sanctioned? It's not, is it? Right. So that's why they fall into the gray hat because they don't always get permission to do whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, they don't, just like with the 1981 attack, they didn't get permission to do it. Even though they gave the money back, they technically broke the law. I think some of them got arrested. I don't know if they, I didn't look into that too further, but I don't know. But I know they got in some trouble because of that attack, even though they gave the money away. Just because you're doing something for a good purpose doesn't mean that you could just do it. They are innocent as a whole, but have some bad members, some bad apples within them, and so that's why they're a bucket of white paint that had a couple drops of black dropped into it, and now they're gray.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Good way to put it.
Some lessons learned when we're talking about the Chaos Computer Club. Well, first off, is that they're always testing boundaries of technology, and that there is the one thing I see when I'm seeing all the different articles and things that have been published by the Chaos Computer Club is that there is no silver bullet to security. There is always a flaw somewhere in the system, and it is our job to make sure that as many vulnerabilities as we know about are patched and have a good response plan and system for when things happen that we don't know about. Like biometrics. For the longest time, I mean, I remember in the 90s, like every spy movie had you got to get this bestest biometric scanner. It was like supposedly the hardest thing that you could ever like get past.
But yeah, they were always kidnapping some scientist for an eye scanner to break in and steal
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing, right?
retinal eye scanner, all this sort of stuff, and that's just Hollywood malarkey. That's nothing.
I mean, they
It's
raised a lot
very,
of good
very
questions
easy to
as a group.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of their whole kind of a social movement. They push the whole like who controls this technology and like who's controlling all this information and who should. I mean, it's and they've been around for a long time. So I mean, they're doing something right if
Yeah,
they're still around.
and I mean, everything that they've done, even with the German, post office, they had told the post office beforehand. It wasn't like they just did this one day just to show them that they could do it. They had tried to inform them of the vulnerability, and the post office didn't do anything about it. They didn't, and that's you see that a lot, especially with ethical hackers out there that are trying to do good. They will get repercussions back onto them just by being the messenger. And so I have a message to all the companies out there that ever get a message that it's a legitimate message from an actual ethical hacker that's telling you about a vulnerability. If they find the vulnerability and it's real, just own up to it. Say thank you, and maybe even throw them a little bit of coin. That's all they're really looking for. They're not. But if you burn them and try to go after them, you just created a whole bunch of enemies.
Or they just call us for a pen test and we'll find it. We'll find it first.
Yeah, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll get there, or hopefully not, but they can call us after, they get breached, and then
Or
we'll
after.
go and
Yeah.
investigate that too.
Anytime you need us, we're always here.
Alright, so this now we're gonna move into our catch of the week. This week, we're gonna talk about a fish that I caught that is traditionally a saltwater fish, but I ended up catching it in freshwater up in the middle of the country in Arkansas. Let me share my screen here. So this fish is called it's technically called a striped bass, also called the sea bass. It's actually a hybrid fish. What they did was Arkansas Fish and Wildlife Management created this hybrid bass of both from a saltwater sea bass and a freshwater largemouth bass. And they put it together and put it in this lake for sport fishing enthusiasts like myself to come and fish and get really big fish. They don't breathe in the lake. They are merely there to be caught and used for food for the local population, and as well as bring in money and things like that for when people like myself go in and pay to go fish there. So we were out on. This was a cold, cold Arkansas morning, as Isaac would know about the cold Arkansas mornings. I'm sure that Isaac, you've been on a boat in the early morning in, like, November and going, like, 40 miles an hour on the water, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
super cold.
many times, especially duck season.
It's rough.
Yeah, you'll
So,
start getting
I would get
icicles on your eyelashes and yeah, like cold.
yeah, it's people don't realize it because people are like, "Oh, think Arkansas, it's really hot." It is hot in the summertime, but it gets bone chilling cold in the wintertime. And so we're out there and we're flying across this lake. The sun is just coming up and there's fog everywhere and we're flying through and I'm freezing cold. We finally get stopped and get settled in, and then we had the guide get our, when you go on the guy gets the gets all the poles and stuff set up, and gets you hung up there and casts it out, and then we wait for the fish to get on. So he's doing all of that, and it's a beautiful morning out. Still extremely cold. The sun's coming up, but it's not warming up anything. It's just making it lighter outside, not any really warmer. And it finally got when I took this picture here, it was just getting warm enough where I was about to start taking my jacket off. So think this is like one of 6 or 7 fish we got that day, and it was a big lunker. So they used brim that they catch by they cast net. The guy said that he was out earlier than we were there because we got there like 5 in the morning at the dock. He was out earlier than that, cast netting brim for us to use as bait. Brim are small, tiny fish. And so he would get all those, then come and pick up the people, and then would go out and we'd fish with these, and then just cast brim out and it'd sit at the bottom. We were in about like maybe 40 or 30, 40 foot of water. And this is on Lake Norfolk, by the way, in Mountain Home, Arkansas. So we get again on this bass, and it's actually fun. It's fun. It's super fun to fish to catch because it's like a largemouth bass, but bigger, and does the jumping out of the water and the flipping in the air and kind
They
of stuff
are
like that
aggressive.
sometimes.
They love a good
Yeah.
fight.
Yes, they're fun. They are really fun. They're probably one of the more fun fish to catch, and, they're good eating too. Really good white meat, so it's really good. How many have you caught before, Isaac? Did you ever go down there?
I used to have a friend of mine that had some property up there, and we'd go once a year usually, catch a couple.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, there's a limit there's, like, a limit on them, like, per boat limit, but,
They restock them every year.
uh
They're not going anywhere.
yeah. What's interesting is when I read why they don't spawn in the lake, and it's because of the sea bass part of their genealogy. The sea bass needs to have a current to breed. There's no current in the lake, so
I didn't know that.
they
That
don't
is
breed.
interesting.
Yeah, that's why they don't breed. It's one of the reasons why they're able to do it, and Arkansas Fish and Wildlife put them out there is because there's no real threat to the local population. That they'll eventually all die off, and we'll catch them all. They won't overbreed
That
because they
it's a
can't.
man-made lake too, so I mean, you think
Yeah.
about the environmental impact. It's a man-made lake. I mean,
Isn't there supposed to be, like, a town on the
yeah,
bottom or, like, railroad
yeah.
tracks?
Norfolk
Something like
Town
that?
is they sank the town. You can still, I think, certain diving certification classes. They'll go down and like there's a school bus down there that they abandoned and a bunch of other stuff that you can actually dive down and see it.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's wild. Yeah, it's like a 300-foot lake
well, it's real deep.
in
Yeah,
points, right? Yeah, in parts of it, yeah, it's real deep. Yes, I remember my grandfather, had property on that lake, and then when he died, it got sold off, and I was like, "Man, that's such a missed opportunity. We could be millionaires right now."
I think we still have some cousins that own property up there somewhere.
But we need to go hit him up then.
Talk my dad into buying some property up there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send him this
Tell him
clip.
to sell it. Yeah, send this clip, tell him he doesn't need a bike anymore, he's getting too old. He needs
Don't
to
tell him
get
that. That's not gonna help get anything done. Don't say that.
oh, man, he's got a new boat now, he needs to go take it out here.
Annual Gibson cyber fishing trip. There we go. We just
Yes,
planned it.
that's what I'm
We'll steal my
there it
dad's boat.
is, there it is. Yep, that actually sounds like a fun time, we're gonna do that. So, let's, back to some security takeaways from this and from my this fishing trip. I mean, if we could kinda relate it to there, like, you know, just like the Triple C showed us with flaws in systems like ATMs and biometrics and other things like that. Uh, you don't always know exactly what's under the hood or under the water when with these security products. A biometric scanner might look great on the surface until you realize how easily there are how many easy workarounds there are for the scanner and for the lock itself. Just because something is technologically available doesn't mean that it's always secure. There's also a thing of just because it is a security protocol doesn't mean it's right for that environment or that situation. So always make sure that you are evaluating each and every vulnerability on all different angles that you could have. That's where penetration testing comes in handy because that's what penetration testers do. They evaluate a application or a system or a network for vulnerabilities that were left open or need to be patched. They find the things that the hacker would find, but they're going to tell you about them so you can go fix them. All right. Thoughts on that, Isaac?
Yeah. So I mean, to tie it all in, the bass didn't really belong in the lake. You know, uh, those hackers didn't belong in the systems that they were poking around in. They were both thriving in those environments, right? They were, finding ways to survive and do their best and improve. So I mean, it's kind of a reminder that being out of bounds can reveal surprises. You know, but also forces us to think hard about the ethics and the responsibility of the whole situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point, like, the Arkansas Fish and Wildlife had to think about the ethics of breeding this fish and putting it into this lake, like, what's it gonna do? They had to think, "Oh, yeah, if this fish can't have a current, then they can't breed, so it's not gonna be super invasive." The same thing that probably the German post office was saying, like, "Oh, if we have this or this, that, and the other set up, we can make our operations a lot faster and quicker." But what are the unintended consequences? There's always unintended consequences with everything's decision. We haven't really found anything with the fish just yet, but maybe that's comes in a later time. And what the unintended consequences of the German post office operations was to be vulnerable, uh, have the vulnerability of being able to have 135,000 Deutschmarks stolen from them. Whether it's a striped bass in a freshwater lake or hackers in the wrong system, surprises teach us the most. Adaptability matters, but so does responsibility. Curiosity can open doors, yet ethics decide how we step through them. All right. Thank you for stopping by today. This has been a really great episode. Really awesome talk about the Chaos Computer Club and the fishing up in Arkansas. One day we might even have some live pictures, live videos of us of Isaac and I fishing on that same lake again. Next week we're going to be talking about the landmark virus in cybersecurity called the AIDS Trojan. It's not what you think. It's actually the first and precursor to ransomware. First tip technical ransomware that was out there in the wild. So that's going to be a really great episode. We're going to talk about that next time.
Cool. Thanks for watching. Always be aware of what's under the surface. It may be something you're not expecting.
All right, thanks everyone. Remember to tag us in any social media posts and hashtag hackers and hooks. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.